Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're reading in Saturnastra Rimaru. This is chapter 15, and it's also the last chapter. A strange little creature started forming in the sugar and blood habitat, and on top of an open lemon, a single cell organism was slowly dividing. Rimaru said, "Now this is certainly different. I wonder what it could be," asked Loki. "Depending on its intelligence and charm, we might keep it," said Rimaru. When Rimaru concluded her work in the lab, she went to see about Carbine, and together with her they started sorting out the singing and dance class schedule. And Rimaru then left the house with the printed schedule, and as she roamed the street she started singing. And this was how she usually announced she was open for business. And since it was election day, there was a lot of folks roaming the streets. And back in the other continent, Mindis had finally reached her death quota. And there had been a coup, and Brutus and the mouse in the orphan wars were making their way towards Aragon. And she had taken a turn for the war just as Mindis had predicted. And her father's book had indeed done a number on Oea, and the merchants had copied the book that Ames had received from Mundus, and unlike him, they understood it. And each merchant family had been given a page of the book, and with each household focused on a particular project, and technology had taken a great leap forward in secrets. And since the merchant class had its eyes set against the nobility, a bloodbath naturally ensued. And of all the weapons mentioned in the book, the merchants mass-produced the repeating crossbow. And the folks already had crossbow, but the book helped them give it a much-needed improvement. And as the saying goes, sometimes you need to learn to take baby steps before you learn to run. All in all, about 167 folks appeared in Aragon overnight. And Brutus seemed that Alice went to see Alisa to start the immigration progress, and she was walking back from school with her child, and she was quite proactive in rearing her kid, despite being a noble woman. And at times she would go to government meetings with her bored kitty present, drawing with coloring pencils or playing with his toys. Brutus approached Alisa, who gave him a weird look, and raising an eyebrow, she said, "Great, more weirdos. Don't you have the entire mountain to yourself? You should have really go bother the Greys at Maltisor. I am not familiar with those Greys, or whatever they call themselves. I came here because my temple and the monks who live there were forced to evacuate unexpectedly. But I won't bore you with the details, and we need a place to stay," said Brutus. "You and a good chunk of the locals in Aragon, all of those pointless skirmishes and pillaging, and we are still in the process of reconstruction. We haven't the resources to facilitate a temple for you or your monks, and you must bother one of the shrine priests and see if they will offer you room and boarding," explained Alisa. "Thank you for explaining me your situation," said Brutus starting to depart. He returned and then asked, "Where is the nearest shrine?" Alisa reached into her pocket and she brought out a map, and therein she said, "Here, I always carry one with me just in case I run into a tourist or a refugee." Brutus roamed a bit, and he eventually found a shelter for his folks. With his dance done, Brutus found a random street corner in the market, and he started to dance a little in order to make some spare change. And he knew a particular dance from the temple, and the dance employed his urumi. And while he danced, Amelius noticed the fellow, and he dropped in front of Brutus a large sack of coins. And he then returned 5 minutes later, and Amelius said, "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to give you a smaller ounce, wise order us all." So no, it was Amis who gave him like the big alms, and then his twin brother came and took most of the money away. "It's fine, and I'm not even mad," said Brutus, and before Amelius picked up his large bag of coins, Lorica manifested, and her tentacles picked up all of the coins, and then she flew away, and then she said, "They are all mine." "Well, I guess I'm not the only one with a troublesome mistress," said Amelius, laughing. And the election day and everything seemed normalized, and as a dismembered body was found floating down the canals, and Aragon had itself a new democratically elected governor. And the fellow was not too keen in discovering the nature of his role in Aragon. And he thought he would finally feast with his newfound political powers, and he found out just how powerless he was without the backing of the knights, the merchants, the vampires, and the leaders of the noble houses. And he planned to cause problems later, but Alisa was already used to dealing with corrupt politicians. And a week passed, and Amis finally took the plunge and left for Berageddon to beg to return to the magic school. All magic user dropouts had to beg to regain entry. And the begging ritual was done in public in front of all of the students and faculty, and the current headmaster found such types of public humiliation something amusing, an amusing pastime. So like if you drop out of my university, you gotta like beg to be, you gotta do a public humiliation ritual to be brought back in. It also helped to dissuade folks from entering the magic school and leaving it on a whim. And the headmaster was always changing in order to prevent corruption, and eligible candidates had to pass a test, and the theme of which varied from year to year. And the theme of the year was shield magic, and the current headmaster went by the name of Alina Donna, and she was one of Nalini's board crystal knights, and like all of the crystal knights, she was a mad elf with a bit of a sadistic streak. And when Amish arrived to reapply for his master's, the admission lady told him about the new school policy, and this came as a bit of a nuisance, and Amish did the begging ritual with the air and dignity of somebody who no longer cares. And during the entire ritual his hair was as dark as night, and it would remain dark for the rest of his days. And with the minor step out of the way, Amish sunk back into his habit routine he had once discarded, and he returned to studying magic, exercising and practicing the new spells, trying out new components and experimenting. It was not an exciting life, but it was his life. And with peace there was more of an emphasis on defensive magic in Verageddon, and if a fellow mage could avoid taking a life with his magic, the fellow moved up in the ranks much faster. And with everything falling into place, Sativa felt like it was as good a time as any to take a long nap. And during his time away, there had not been much drills or anything in particular to warrant his attention. And while he was on his way to his coffin, Sativa heard a sobbing woman, and he turned his head and he saw a creepy monster with a single eye spilling blood. And the creature had no arms, and he had a sideways mouth in the back of his head, and the body was hairy with long thin spines, and it had two skinny kangaroo-like legs, and something about the way the creature wobbled and complained reminded Sativa of Rimaru. And indeed it was the sobbing diva Rimaru, and behind her, trailing her, was her brother Loki. And Loki was looking about like a mad person as he chased after his sister. And then he noticed a kid walking on an adorable beagle, and the kid screamed when he saw Rimaru, and he ran away, abandoning the dog. And Loki picked up the beagle dog, and he said to his sister, "Look, it's a puppy." Rimaru's crazy sad eye looked at the beagle, and then she said, I don't want a doggo." "You know you do, sis," said Loki, bringing the beagle close to Rimaru. Rimaru petted it with one of her weird little feet, and as she did, she slowly regained her humanoid form. And Sativa shook his head sadly, and then he said, "She certainly gives a whole new meaning to ugly cry." "Yes, she certainly does," said Sativa's shadow. Sativa recognized the voice and said, "What are you doing hiding in there?" "I did nothing bad, and now Loki wants to kill me," said Mindy's hiding. "What do you do this time?" said Sativa, exasperated. "I move a tiny rock 5 centimeters to the right, just doing that one, kill one of those weird little life forms, and now everyone's yelling and angry at me, and I thought that they would try and fight me, but instead they are just making me feel very guilty," said Mindy meekly. "Well, Rimaru has always been adept at making folks feel sorry about her," said Sativa. "Speak for yourself, Sativa," said Mindy. "Just go and apologize already," said Sativa. "Nope, I think I'm going to hide in your shadow till everything blows over," said Mindy. "So yourself," said Sativa, "going to see about Rimaru." And struck with a bit of curiosity, Sativa added, "So why are you hiding in my shadow again? I thought you were the biggest squid in this ocean." "I thought so too, but I'm not so sure anymore," said Mindy. And she sighed and said, "Here is how it happened. I moved the tiny rock, and then the thing died, and Rimaru threw a mighty fit, and then right on cue, I fell through a gaping hole, and as I did, I saw that it was not a hole, but the esophagus of a large creature with sharp teeth. And as the mouth closed, so came the darkness, and the teeth as they snapped had a certain electricity about them. And I flew a bit to avoid touching the stomach acids, and these acids flowed like molten lava, but blue, and there was a certain smell to it, like mint or ginseng. And from the blue flames, there was a giant fellow with hair like blue flame. And I recognized the fellow to be Loki, sporting his black armor and a stupid flower on his head that was really distracting. Anyhow, with the lack of water molecules and the heat, I was not able to grow to my usual size, and I felt a bit sluggish because of the fumes, and in his hand he held one of those stupid magic staffs that do nothing for no one. And you know, the stupid ones with the oars. Anyhow, I don't know if it was the fumes or the repeated blows to the head with the staff glove, but I went into one of my, what's it called, wasping, reality shifts or whatever. And I got into kill or be kill mode. And whenever I become hyper-focused with my tentacles expanded and my armor blade getting into battle mode, and I evaded and responded to each clubbing, and each time I struck the fellow, it felt like I was hitting fire, and he was a shapeshifter like me. And eventually we warped and morphed into hideous creatures trying to find the best form to harm one another. And despite whatever form Loki took, he always had that stupid spear hand with a staff that was just there to clobber me over the head with it. And his persistence eventually cracked my skull open. And then it was when I got really queasy, and for the first time in life forever, and I, the great Mindis, had to flee. And the moment I saw the gaping mountain hill, I flew like nobody had ever fled. And as I did, the walls of the throats and the creature bellowed and turned to clawing and clasping hands, trying to rip every piece of exposed flesh. And I lost more tentacles and suckers than I can count, and it was a real amazing experience. And the blue demon chasing me kept yelling, "You're a dead man, Mindis," and I saw you, and then I flattened and hid under your shadow, and there you have it. And that's why I'm your new shadow now, until I recover. You are aware that they read minds, said Sativa. Uh-oh, said Mindis before another creature attacked her. And this time it was Vicus, the essence of silence, native to Saturnastra. And he caught Mindy in his twisting darkness form, and he dragged her out of Sativa's shadows, and he brought her before Rimaru. And Rimaru stopped a moment, and her looks shifted to show her discontent. And Vicus slapped Mindy behind her head, and then Mindy said meekly, "I am sorry I killed your stupid amoeba. I'm sorry, too, that I showed you my nice things, and I should have not learned to draw a small game hunter like you," said Rimaru, spitting on Mindy's face. "I have killed big games too," said Mindy proudly. "No, you haven't. You have never tackled anything that you did not know you could not kill." "You know what you are, Mindy? You are a bully," said Rimaru stoically. "Now that is a first, and I don't see why you have to make a big deal about it. It is not your kind, and I don't particularly feel guilty for killing another that is not the same as my own flesh and blood," said Mindy. "So does everyone, but even if you don't value their life, there might be somebody left behind who is going to be angry enough to make you regret the day you were ever born," said Loki, coming closer to yell at Mindis. And he brought out his staff, and then he said, "I don't usually kill for petty reasons, but may I rid Saturn of this terrible cursing nuisance." "Help me out here," said Mindis, looking at Sativa. "Out alive," said Sativa, shrugging his shoulder. "No, I have a better idea," said Rimaru, regaining her human face and countenance, and looking at Mindis, she said, "We're going to give you the bully treatment." Wendy started twisting and winding, but Vicus did not release her, and he found the noises in the market annoying, but he was putting up with it to avoid hearing Rimaru complain for the next couple of months. And Rimaru leaned over Mindis, and Rimaru then expanded her mouth, and she gave Mindis a candid vampire's kiss. This kiss did not sucked out the life out of Mindis, but also her essence, and Rimaru sucked out Mindis' joy and happiness, and she infected Mindis with the void that was dragging Rimaru down towards the abyss. And after the vampire's kiss, Mindy stopped being a serial killer, and the thing that Mindy was enjoying no longer thrilled her. And now, like many folks blessed by Rimaru, Mindy had to find a new way to live her life. And Mindy was also not allowed to stay in Saddle, and Apega banned her from using his train services. Time, bro?
10 minutes.
After giving Mindy her vampire key, Rimaru went to the funeral arrangement for her tiny life form, and she cleaned the habitat and she poured the remains of her group specimen inside an urn, and Sativa followed close behind while Loki and Vicus took out the trash known as Mindy's. And Sativa saw Rimaru using a black outfit and more simplified, and guessing the purpose Sativa asked, Where are you going to bury this stiff? In the garden?" "Nah, I want to bury it in a sunny place, like the beach or something," said Rimaru. "Sounds like a bit of a hike for a creature that was just a weird amoeba with no intelligent side," said Sativa. "So says the little elf that speaks to plants," retorted Rimaru. "Point taken," said Sativa, lingering still. And Sativa followed in silence, and Rimaru went to the train station, and from there the train left Saturn, and after traveling for a couple of seconds, they arrived at the new destination, and after opening the blue solid door with a single handle, they arrived at the beach. And Sativa noted that the beach was super crowded, and the folks barely wore anything, and some of the maidens were even topless. And Sativa did not take in the sights too much, mainly because the heat was unbearable, and he found a shady spot under a blue umbrella, and a fellow came to Sativa and said, "That will be $20 for the share and umbrella," asked Rimaru. "Just for the umbrella. I can give you the share for another $10, said the fellow. and Rimaru paid for the sharing umbrella so that Sativa could have a place to sit down. And the fellow was just not used to that type of heat. And Aragon, even on its hottest day, was never above 79. And the beach that they were visiting was a scorching 85 degrees, but it felt like 90 due to the humidity. And Sativa noticed the fellows looking at the flat slates of various sizes, and there was also some boxes that produced music. And Sativa reacted to the unusual technology with the same curious disdain he regarded anything new that came across his life. And he thought a moment, I could be sleeping right now at this very moment. And Sativa lay back on the reclining shades, and the green cushions had a set of imperceptible white spots. And Sativa looked at one near his head, and he hoped that it was bird droppings. And sighing, he settled down to sleep while Rimaru dug a random hole near him. And after she did, she buried the jar. And Sativa opened an eye, and then he asked, I am going to do a service for the critter. I'm doing that, but not with my voice, but with my mind, said Rimaru. Then how do you expect for the yardsticks to hear you? You should not assume that every spirit type of creature can read minds, said the bored Sativa. I guess, said Rimaru, but I don't feel like making a scene. Nonsense, said Sativa, before starting to scream like a maniac. And the locals looked at him, and some moved their kids away, and other than that, nothing happened. See, nobody's paying attention. Fine, said Rimaru, sighing. We gather here today to bury my goopy science experiment. May you rest in peace wherever you are. Rimaru then grabbed a nearby seaweed, and then she placed it on top of the jar, and she added a handful of dirt, and Sativa added another. And before completely closing the shallow grave, Rimaru sliced her hand with her nail, and she poured a bit of blood on top of the jar, and aboard Sativa did the same. And with the short unceremonious funeral concluded, the pair sat there by the beach waiting for the sun to set. Sativa commented, if we were a couple, this is the part where we would kiss. Yes, that is usually the scenario when couples kiss in the silly plays and movies, said Rimaru. And what brought this on out of the blue? I don't know, seeing that fat couple having a merry old time with their skinny kids, it made me remember something I had long forgotten, said Sativa. And the sunset came, and since it was October in that world, the tide rose a lot, and the chairs and the umbrella had been taken away by the guy, and as a result, Sativa and Rimaru had to sit on the dirt to see the sunset. And with the water rising a bit, they had to step back a couple of paces, and as it did with the west, and it started to dislodge and even flatten a lot of sand that was on top of the shallow grave. And the two entered the cold waters, and they floated a bit till the waves got a little too annoying, and the seaweed also did not help much. And then a large fish passed by Sativa's ankle, and that was enough to get him to run out of the water. And the two started walking parallel to the water, talking nonsense, and Sativa told Rimaru about his first life, about his poor mother, and what became of his bloodline. You see, it is pretty easy to live a long life if you do not live a full life. And after I finished growing up, I stopped taking risks, and then eventually I did not even want to step outside my house anymore. And then even going out of my room became a chore. Eventually I buried myself alive to sleep a sleepless dream, and I would have probably rotted away too if my cousin had not replanted my sassafras tree on top of my grave. And the tree knew me, and his roots bored deep into my coffin, giving me nourishment till I awoke. And it was nice to hear a familiar voice when I awoke, said Sativa. Yeah, you were a little bit dazed the first time I saw you talking with the grasses, commented Rimaru. Yeah, the grasses are very shady, said Sativa, and what I'm getting at is that I forgot how to be happy. I suppose some things cannot be helped, said Rimaru. I noticed that you like saying that aloud, said Sativa. It is more of a family model, and one has to make peace with things that are beyond one's control, and even if you could change it, would it be truly be worth all of the effort? Time?
5 minutes.
In my experience, nothing in life is worth any effort, not family, not friends, not jobs, or anything, said Sativa. The problem is that you are expected to get some fruit for your labors, and the moment I detached myself from the results of my actions, I became more at peace with the world, It is up to the individual to decide what is worth striving for, said Rimaru. And by now the sun had set, and while walking about, Sativa noticed the little turtles coming out of the ground, and he had to squint his eyes a lot because there was no nearby lights, and the darkness was designed by the city planners to help the turtles find their way. And Rimaru noticed some footsteps approaching in the darkness, and whenever they stopped, the footsteps stopped, and whenever they walked, the footsteps resumed, and Sativa too noticed, and he stopped a moment when he felt something heavy beneath his feet, and he picked it up, and he noticed that it was a coconut that had washed ashore. And Sativa looked in the direction of the shadow, and he felt the weight of the coconut, and then he took careful aim, and he threw the iron at the person who was stalking them. And Sativa had a strong throwing iron, and the coconut struck the assailant in the head, and the coconut cracked the Sativa and Rimaru drew closer to check up on the dead body. And Rimaru brought out a light and they noticed that the dead person was a teenager wearing all black attire and he was holding a pistol. And Rimaru saw the pistol and she noticed that he had no bullets. And Sativa saw the age of the kid and he said, "No, that is a shame. Don't feel bad. When a person gets a weapon, they are considered the enemy. And with brass younger than 8, it gets a little blurry. But all in all, the kid was out to get us. And I say good riddance," said Rimaru. "Should we bury him?" asked Sativa. "Nah, there's some sharks over there. Let's feed the kid to him. And if they don't need him home, it can at least freak out the bathers tomorrow," said Rimaru. "Seems like too much effort for a morbid joke," said Sativa. "Well, if you want to bury him, you can do so, but with the sand and the metals on his person, there's a good chance one of those metal digger people will find him easily," said Rimaru. In the end, the body was chucked into the ocean, and Rimaru was thoughtful for a bit, and she thought that the Sativa coconut thing had been a bit of an overkill, and the barco had just wanted to talk or something. "It's crazy to see how easily a life can be snuffed out," said Sativa, getting broody again. "The real challenge is to stop a person from hurting themselves. And my brother Loki feels that this little creature is probably going to give you an earful as soon as we return home," said Rimaru. "Why me? I'm not even human. And if not killing my own kind, then it's not murder or something." "I see, so someone mean this nonsense rubbed off on you," said Rimaru sadly. "Do you know why I did not go to sleep?" asked Sativa. "I don't know, you found my wailing annoying or something," said Rimaru. "Mole, seeing and hearing the spooks at the beach made me remember that when I was small, I wanted to go on adventures and have a big family and see new places and get lots of stuff," said Sativa. "It is a dream of this land," said Rimaru. And Sativa kneeled down and then he manifested a wood grain ring, and he said, "Do you want to marry me and form a family?" "Oh, Sativa, you shouldn't have. Said Rimaru, hugging Sativa, and she kissed him on the cheek in a brotherly sort of way, and then she grabbed a handful of sand and she passed it down Sativa's shirt. Sativa frowned and said, "Oh, that's a bit infantile of you. Well, we should start with a cup of coffee and then we see from here. And if there's a problem with my siblings, but if Ivano could do it, then maybe you can win their affection as well," said Rimaru. "Time, bro?"
1 minute, 40 seconds.
"Do you like me then?" asked Sativa. "It is a little early to tell, and I appreciate your company, but if you were to sleep tomorrow, I could easily appreciate someone else's company," said Rimaru. "Fair enough," said Sativa, getting out of the floor. "We should start with coffee, and then we will see where it goes." Alright, so this is the ending of Saturnastra Rimaru. Bye bye and God bless.